The Derrick Jaxn situation.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that. Words need to be said. I have things to say. I just wanted us to be here.
The moment that you turn off your laptop, you come face to face with the real you. Oh, it's just so much. This whole idea of the long-suffering woman in the marriage. Long-suffering.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to the To My Sisters podcast. I'm Courtney.
And I'm Renee, and we are your online big sisters and hosts of the To My Sisters podcast.
We are all about promoting the wellness, growth, and development of a community of sisters across the world.
And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about influencers and celebrities. Should influencers be celebrities? What is the purpose of the influencer in today's society? I am so excited to get into this episode.
This is going to be so good.
I am very, very excited to get into this episode. But before we get into the episode, it's time for a dilemma.
Dun, dun, dun.
Now, we've got a very saucy one. Hold on, let me just pop on my glasses for this one. All right, let me just.
It's a lengthy one.
It's a lengthy one, and if you know anything about me, you'll know that my eyesight is very much failing. Now, our good sis, here's our dilemma for today. I am a final year medical student, and my now ex-boyfriend is too. We're both 24.
Okay.
We are both Christians and he is very committed. Okay. However, a discussion came up about men being the head of the household, and he said in times of disagreement, the final decision would be with me. Now, one of the examples... With him.
Okay, wow.
And one...
Yeah.
And the one example he used was that she wants too extravagant of a house. Now, she wants a cinema room, a sauna, a swimming pool. She wants it lavish. But he just wants a humble home so he can give more money away.
Okay.
Now, she says that she's very giving and caring, but property is just one thing she's really passionate about. And she deserves to relax after the hard days of being a doctor. He refused to see this, and they ultimately broke up as he wanted her to compromise. In one of the, breaking up discussions that they had, he said that maybe he'll look for a less ambitious woman next time.
Those were the words he used?
Absolutely.
He'll look for a less ambitious woman. Go on then.
Now, she said, I hate this situation because I feel like it's such a stupid thing to break up over. If I date any Christian man, am I going to have to relinquish autonomy once married if I want to be a true Christian wife? I just don't know what to do. I've tried talking to him to say I'm confused, but it just ends up in a shouting match. And now I feel the disrespect is too far gone.
Yeah. Okay. This is an interesting one because I think there are three things here for me. Three things.
Yes, ma'am.
One, I don't think this was a stupid thing to break up over. I think this proved that they weren't compatible. And I think compatibility is something that's really important to look for, in the sense that whilst we can say, I'm a Christian, he's a Christian too. Or, I stand for this, he stands for that too. He says this is important to him, it's important to me too, and that's enough. You actually need to go and see within our beliefs, do we have complementary beliefs or are they contradicting? I think that, for example, with the house thing, I want a nice home, you don't want a nice home. Is not having a nice home is having a nice home a non-negotiable for her? It is. So you're not compatible with somebody who's saying having a humble home is a non-negotiable for me. Yeah. And in this case, there was no compromise. So clearly it's really important to both of you. So you've just proven you're incompatible in that area. Now, for some people, they'll say, okay, we're incompatible in that area, but ultimately I could let that go. But if none of you can let it go, then you're incompatible. And I think it's actually really important to know this, because even when we were having that conversation about dating a couple of weeks ago, we were saying, dating someone, it doesn't mean you have to end up with that person. Absolutely. You don't have to force it. And so it's really important to make sure if we do get married, it's going to be forever, hopefully. I don't want to be with someone who we don't complement each other and we're incompatible. The second thing is, I think she may be thinking, am I less of a Christian than him? And I think that that's a really important thing to kind of dwell on, which is, it may be a conviction for him, doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a conviction for you. If it's something that you're happy to take on, then fine. But in this case, you're not. And it brings us to point number one. It's an incompatibility issue. It doesn't make you less of a Christian liking nice things. And I think that that's something you also, like in her saying, am I gonna have to kind of deal with this in future relationships, and him calling her too ambitious, to paraphrase. I don't think you should be shamed for that. If you have a desire in your heart and, you know, maybe God's going to use that as a part of your story or whatever, the glory he gets over your life, you having this nice house, why should you be shamed for that? If it's different, if somebody is saying, you know, I think you may be you're placing too much value in physical things and you are maybe a superficial person. If it's something about a character reflection and a character flaw, that's a different conversation to saying you're too ambitious and it's not a negative thing. Do you get what I mean? Like if your ambition is driving you to do things which are unchristian, that's a different conversation to saying I'm your husband, just change, you know? And if you're not in the same place mentally, spiritually and all of that, you're going to feel cheated. You're going to feel like, hold on a minute, all of my money is being given away and I don't want it to be given away. And just because I love you, it doesn't mean I'm going to stay silent on these issues. And even if I do stay silent, I'm going to build resentment. So I think it's important to make sure you're on the same page and you're both willing to give. The third thing is, for me, the essence of this conversation about submission, one thing that people don't highlight enough is love and trust. If you believe somebody loves you and you can trust them, that they have your best interest at heart and they want to not give you a life, but they want to build a life with you where you are also happy and where you are fulfilling your destiny and God's calling on your life and you are satisfying God with your character and your walk as a Christian, then you'll be able to submit because you trust. If you don't trust, you can't submit. And I think a lot of us point to Christian women and we're like, yeah, you have to be submissive. And we don't hammer into Christian men, you need to learn how to lead a woman and prove that you're worthy of that position of leadership. We don't emphasize that enough. You're just a man, you get a wife.
Can you imagine?
Nah.
Not just any man.
No.
Wait a minute.
Wait a second, sir. You actually have to prove yourself as trustworthy. You have to prove yourself as sacrificial. You have to, with evidence, you have to prove yourself as responsible. Do we emphasize that enough? So in what she's, I think those are the three things that I would give advice and like think about these things. But how about you? I'm interested to hear your view.
Miss Courtney,
Miss Independent.
Yeah, you be out here stealing all of my points and whatnot. I don't even know if there's anything for me to add to that.
I think you could touch on the autonomy thing.
Yeah, that was in my... This is why you need to go get you a best friend. She knows what's on in my mind. But yeah, the autonomy thing, I'm not gonna lie, it did rub me a little bit. Also, as you were speaking, this whole idea of submission, right? And this whole underlying assumption that he is going to have the final say in a lot of these conversations. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing in the context of like marriage and relationships and stuff. If you decide that one party will have the quote unquote the final say, it's what weighting does that person place on your thoughts, feelings and emotions before they come to that conclusion. And if they're so quick to jump to that final decision without adding some kind of weightiness to the considerations that you have, I'm not really sure that you're very compatible. And it's also, you also need to think about things like compromise, right?
Yeah.
As you said, Courtney, I don't think this is a bad thing to break up over. This is more so
it's a great thing to break
exactly
up over.
The thing that you broke up over was more so a symptom of a deeper issue. And the root issue being, can you guys compromise with each other? Are you actually compatible with each other? It's just that it's manifested or rather channeled through the issue of the house. Like, I'm sure that if you look a lot more closely, there's other things. The fact that, you know, he said, quote unquote, I might look for a less ambitious woman, I thought was a bit strange in the context of that particular issue, if you get what I mean, because it's less so about ambition and more so about features of a house, like, do you know what I mean? But the fact that he said he wants someone that's less ambitious means that there's a compatibility issue as opposed to it being something that's more superficial. So I don't think it's a petty thing to break up over. And if you decide, I mean, look, honestly, it's up to you, sis. I don't think it's a bad thing for you guys to break up over this issue. But if you do decide that, you know, you want to make amends, be aware of the fact that there are certain compatibility issues and underlying tensions around the topic of compromise that you guys need to come to a decision on. And you need to see like how much compromise can there be, because that's what relationships are about. It's about compromise. Like as much as we often think that because there's submission present in a relationship, there can't be compromise. And I think I love what you were saying about the fact that we don't hammer into men enough that they also need to be leaders, because I don't know about you, but I'm unwilling to submit to somebody that's not a leader.
Best believe it.
I'm willing to submit, but I won't submit to anybody that's less than.
And this is the issue. Like, I think people get so, all these feminists and how they're like tearing apart the family. The issue isn't that women don't want to submit, it's they don't want to submit to you. And I think we've said this before in the When Will You Get Married episode, yeah? And it's really close to my heart because it's like when people try to force themselves on you and it's like, no, I know what God is setting me up for, or I know what I want my life to be like. And I have no problem submitting to you if I can trust you.
Yeah.
I don't. And if I can respect you, or if I feel like you can lead me in a place where I feel secure, I feel safe, I feel heard, I feel loved.
Yeah.
People don't create that environment, yet they demand submission, forgetting that submission is a response to being loved well.
Absolutely. And it's not a response to manhood or the very being a man, you know? The fact that you're a man is irrelevant. There's a lot of men. Because if that were the case, I would submit to all men. I don't.
I have no desire to do that.
And I won't be doing that. But
thank you.
Yeah. So listen, sis, if you decide to break up, that's on you. But we just want to affirm and say that, listen, it's good to have these conversations and it's good to have these thoughts as well. You're both quite young as well. You're both 24 and early 20s, and you've got time. So there really is time to think about this present relationship, as well as consider the fact that you two might not be compatible. That's A-okay. And if you do feel like you're being disrespected continually in this kind of situation, it's best to leave it now, because these kind of things can fester over time. If you think that something is an issue or a red flag now, it's going to scream at you in about 5 years' time. So if you do see this as an exit door, feel free to, exit amicably and understand that, you know what, we were good together, but we weren't compatible.
Yeah,
that's fine.
And that's fine. Resentment can be so real.
Resentment. Don't even get us started on that one.
Yeah, LOL. But no, but resentment and just feeling like you've lost yourself in someone else. Yeah, don't allow yourself to be consumed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we hope that was a helpful response to your dilemma, sis. And thank you so much for sending it in. Keep sending us dilemmas.
Yes, please.
You can send it to us via email, hello@twomysisters.com. Come and say hello. You can send it to us through our website, as well as send it to us through our Instagram or Twitter DMs. They are very much open. But now to get onto the main course of this heavy topic. Oh, we've been waiting for this one. Just get ready for it.
It's because of everything that's been happening, yeah? Everything that's been happening has been bubbling up. Absolutely. And it's like, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. We've been getting some interesting requests on the DM, so I hope you sisters really enjoy this one, because we're going to tackle them all. But first, let's deal with the meatiness, the weightiness. Okay. So, influencers. First of all, how do you define an influencer?
Oh, that's interesting.
And what do you think is the role of an influencer in the 21st century?
Okay. So I think from a commercial standpoint, and I guess from what we're seeing more recently, influencers are people who hold influence. They say something or they do something, and they kind of make other people want to do it as well. Not they make them, but by viewing them, their lifestyle, their expertise, whatever, their results, you want to do what they do and partake in the things that they do, which is really good, and buy the things that they want to buy. So they can be sources of inspiration, but ultimately they are sources of influence, right? They influence the way people behave. And Sometimes they are monetarily compensated for that. Their influence can have monetary value, for example, to brands, to businesses, but just widely in society, even if you're not an influencer by profession, you have influences in your life, your friends, your family, the people who you consider respectable, the people who you consider inspirations, and people who are examples to you. They are the influencers in your life. And so I think that that's what an influencer is. I think there are a lot of people who have big followings and people who follow them because they may like how they look. And so they can buy the things that they wear, or they buy the things that they use because I want to be like you, or you've inspired me in this area. So that's an example of influencing.
I think I definitely broadly agree. It's the inspiring a behavioral change.
Yeah.
Right, the fact that I could look at something that, you know, someone is wearing or someone is doing and think, I'm actually invested in this story, or invested in this person enough to actually change my behavior.
Yeah.
Now, thinking about influencers, because it can be quite a broad term, and I think right now influencers on social media are particularly relevant for our generation. Do you think that there's a distinction between influencers and celebrities? And do you think influencers should be celebrities?
I think that line is being blurred more and more these days. I think even the people who people look to as celebrities, especially if you're young, like Gen Z, TikTok young, you like born in the 2000s young. Celebrities to you are influencers. You know, if you see your favorite influencer who has like 500,000, 1 million subscribers out, they are a celebrity, right? We treat them like Britney Spears, like your favorite boy band, that's them. Do you get it's Britney? And I feel like you get the thing of celebrities are still out there, but I think the line is even celebrities now are leveraging off of influencers in order to still kind of stay relevant, you know? Like you look at the career transition of like Will Smith, for example, and it's like celebrity, actor, influencer, you know, or content creator. And if you don't, right now, if you haven't got a presence on the internet, are you actually a celebrity? You know, you could be like an OG, you could be an icon, but a relevant celebrity and an actual influence, maybe not. You know, and these are in all spheres. It's not just commercial, it's political, it's cultural, all of these things. So I think the line is, I personally couldn't give a distinction between influence and celebrity. How about you?
I hear it. I definitely hear it. I think the line is definitely being extremely blurred nowadays with the rise of something like social media. I think if we take it a couple generations ago, celebrity was, you know, the it girls and guys, you know, the Hollywood actors and actresses. It was very much those people that were famous through very selective mediums where
they had their niche.
You know, exactly, television, radio, and there was only a select few kind of like platforms that you could see those people, and they had a body of work behind them as well. So celebrity status was often for actors and actresses. It started to broaden out a little bit more to include reality TV stars. And then as we came into the 21st century with the rise of the internet, the fact that you have this mass democratization of virality, of consumption of content, now influencers are essentially celebrities. Like they are the modern day celebrity. So I think you're very much right in saying that the distinction is very much blurred now, that the keys of influence have been transferred to the social media influencers, to the masses. But yeah, thinking about, you know, bodies of work and influencers and the things that influencers, particularly on social media, do, what would you say is good about having influencers nowadays?
I think one thing that's amazing, even about what you were saying about the democratization of social media, no longer is power really held in the voices of a few people, right? It's been dispersed. And as long as you have a form of technology, right? Like on this table, we have a phone, laptops, iPad. We have a way to talk to the world if we wanted to. And I remember listening to she's a political activist, and she was saying how Fox News or, you know, CNN News, they get like 700,000 viewers, like in an evening, primetime news, they get like 700,000 people. If I send out a 140 character tweet, I reach 2 million people. That level of power is in people's back pockets. Do you get what I mean? To be able to talk to the world globally, not just in your local area.
That's crazy.
Globally, anyone who is just dedicated to building on social media, and it doesn't even take that much dedication, can do that. And I think that is good and it's bad. It comes with its pros and its cons, and the pros and cons are as heavy as each other, because it's great for, if we look at something like the Arab Spring. And kind of political movements that, it's the Arab Spring, right? Yeah. Political movements that have happened where social media was essential. Even if we look at last year, protests that were happening, assembling and being organized through social media. Like this is a specific hashtag. If you go to that hashtag, you'll be able to find the groups where you'll be able to get help, XYZ. That is so powerful. And I think for the people who, and I think for people to be able to share their stories as well in a way that isn't censored. I think the internet, though it is becoming more and more censored, is a place where you don't have to be filtered by an agenda. You can just say what you want to say. You can just be who you want to be. You can construct your life and find the freedom however you want to. You can build a brand if you want to. If you don't, you can just speak your mind, whatever it is. And I think that that's actually a really good thing. I think that that's a really good thing to have. I think also the relatability aspect. For people to be able to go on the internet and watch their favorite YouTuber and just feel like they're just like me, rather than, I don't know, the Kardashians, where it can sometimes feel a bit so out of touch that these are people you're watching for entertainment. You're not using them as inspiration per se. Whereas you can go on and you can watch Renee, you could watch Courtney, you could watch TMS, you could watch Nella Rose, you could watch whoever and be inspired. You can watch V, you can do so many things and be inspired by what they're doing and think this is actually accessible. I don't have to have paparazzi following me in order to be successful. Here are people with vlog cameras just going about their day, showing you this is what real life can be like, and this is what real life is like. And so I think that's an amazing thing.
No, I absolutely love that. And as you were saying, just the mass democratization of that power, being able to do things that are cool, right? Whether it be, you know, if I'm interested in fashion, like I could actually start and create a whole fashion movement. If I'm interested in, you know, I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of really cool people on like TikTok recently, like designers in particular.
I'm not on TikTok yet. Might need to jump on.
I've got my secret one to keep up with the kids, you know, keep up with the Gen Zers. Especially shout out to my little sisters who be sending me TikToks relentlessly. But I've been seeing a whole host of extremely talented designers that I think could easily design like the next Marvel films on places like TikTok and social media and stuff like that. So I think it's also a really beautiful platform where people who are extremely and exceptionally talented don't have to go through established means or channels to have influence or make a change. And I love what you were saying about accessibility and relatability. It's nice seeing people that you can relate to. It's nice seeing people that look like you, sound like you. They don't sound like, they don't just seem fake. You know what I mean?
And it doesn't seem so constructed and like strategized. Like, you know, celebrities put their brands together. Social media is organic. It feels organic.
And I think that's really, really nice. And I know that, you know, as you were saying, the pros and cons can be as weighty as each other. We'll get onto the cons. You already know that one is the next one that we're going to pop off on. But I genuinely think that the influencer space it's a beautiful space. And I think a lot of people don't get credit with being an influencer. I don't think it's even credible as a real job sometimes. People don't treat it as a real job,
which really I think it is changing, but it needs to change faster because
100%.
the work and also the results are definitely there.
Absolutely. And just the amount of work that goes into producing content is crazy.
We know firsthand.
We know
firsthand.
It is crazy. And I've been joking about this over the past few days, but I was talking about the fact that when I was choosing my A-levels, like I was always dissuaded from taking A-level drama. And it was like, I'll go for the hard-hitting subjects and stuff like that. I kid you not, like the most relevant A-level, thinking back, is probably my A-level drama. Because when you're creating content, it's about telling and sharing stories. So it's just been a very interesting time where I've just been thinking, what was actually super useful and how has How is the education system also evolving to match up to a lot of these transitions too?
This is it. I genuinely think they should teach social media
100%.
and like internet use on like in business courses. I'm sure they're doing that already, but as like a life skill. Do you remember when they used to have that useless thing, critical thinking? Replace that with like social media internet studies or something, not like computer science, actual like how do you navigate the internet, because there's so much, like how we used to have PSHE, PSHE, the
citizenship one,
the citizenship thing. You should teach like cyberbullying, all these things, like understanding how to navigate the internet and also use it for your good. Because one thing that is a massive benefit that we can both attest to is the monetization of content in order to become an influencer, or because you're an influencer, has actually elevated a lot of people's social class and social status in a way that it wouldn't have done a decade ago or two decades ago. If you go on YouTube, you can find people who have become millionaires on YouTube. They just make not they just make videos, but they've made videos over a long period of time. Now they're millionaires. They're actually like they're competing with the like top tech giants. Like they're big.
Isn't that crazy?
That's the power of the internet.
Isn't it crazy? It's so disruptive. And I love the power that influencers get from doing that. But of course it's not all rosy, and we're moving swiftly on to the slightly juicier part of that topic, which is the cons.
Yeah.
What would you say are the main cons or issues with influencing, influencers, and the space itself?
So regulation, not just legally and like with policies and stuff, but actually when so many people can put stuff out there, how far is too far in giving people autonomy, right? If you get to create your own content, where it's, for example, on TV, there are certain things you can't say before a certain time. There are certain things that will just not be premiered and would not be safe and whatever. But on the internet, the censorship is dissolved to a certain degree. So you can say whatever you want to whatever audience you want.
Terrifying.
That's terrifying. That's good for things like political uprisings that are important, but it's also bad for like political extremism, online bullying, things like that. It becomes really difficult. I'd say that's one of the cons of that. But specifically with influencer culture, one of the biggest issues I think we're seeing manifest now is, well, two things. A lot of things are not verifiable. You can come onto the internet and be whoever the heck you want to be. Yeah. Which is good sometimes because it gives you freedom from your reality, especially if your reality doesn't give you freedom. But it's bad if you position yourself as an influencer where people are kind of to an extent depending on you and looking to you for something, and you, with much power comes much responsibility, you know, Spider-Man, right? It's sometimes too much power. And it goes straight to people's heads. Where I think sometimes when we were younger, we saw celebrities who, because of how much money they had and how much resource, and maybe because people saw them as, you know, you're my come up, so I'm not going to correct you on what you do, they fell into things like drug abuse. We just kind of saw the descent of their character and who they are. Whereas in influencer culture, I think that can happen behind the scenes, but you can cover it up way better because you're in charge of your narrative. You don't have paparazzi following you. You don't have people exposing you yet, but you can construct your own reality. That's a lot of power because you can present yourself as something you might not be, and people lap it up, right? People just take it and they become obsessed with you. They and this is the thing, people being obsessed with you, people looking to you for what do you have to say, what's your opinion, what are you doing, how are you behaving. That can be good. That can feel good, rather, because it's bringing money into your pocket. It's making you more notorious. The reason why that can be bad is now you have so much power. Who is going to correct you if you're doing something wrong? Number one. And number two, who's verifying that what you're doing is even right? Do you get what I mean? I think that's a massive sometimes the power that it can lead to people idolizing you. That's sometimes too much responsibility for one human being. But what do you think?
Before I jump even back to what I think, in terms of people idolizing influencers, is that the fault or the problem of the influencer?
We've spoken about this before. Yeah.
What is it? Or is it the fault or the problem of the influencees?
It's both. It's both. Both are. Because no, it's both. Because it takes a lot of humility to say, not a lot of humility, but it takes humility to say, I don't want you to want to be like me.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? I think people want to position themselves because it's a lot. It gives you a lot of power, and human beings, we crave power.
Yeah.
To say, I'm an expert, listen to me, do as I say.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? That's a lot of power to hold. It takes humility to say, this is my opinion, I could be wrong. Or this is my opinion, feel free to disagree with me. Don't disrespect me, but you can disagree with me. That's fine. But I think the issue is a lot of people they lap it up. When people like them so much, it's getting more and more into their heads that, yeah, I'm that person. I'm that person. It becomes an ego trip.
Yeah.
The reason it's the fault of the consumer is you should never give anyone that much power. You should never idolize anyone. You should never think anyone is perfect. And I think sometimes we can, because of the constructed realities and the constructed personas, we can think, this person, she's perfect. I love her story. I love the way she acts. I love the way she behaves. You love the way she acts and behaves on camera.
This is it.
You love the story she presents or he presents. You don't know them. And the amazing Adela Afadi on YouTube has a video on this, which is influencers are not your friends. And that kind of the confusion that can be brought from the fact that I feel so close to you because I watch you every day, but I don't actually know you. And we need to sometimes get that reality.
We need to take a step back.
We need to get that reality and take a step back and realize you can feel like, even we say, we're your online big sisters, but you don't know me, right? So with that, you got to take everything I say as a pinch of salt, in the sense that I could be spitting wisdom on this table. You could be spitting wisdom on this table, but it doesn't mean you should want to be me. And it shouldn't mean that you should hold me to this pedestal because you don't know what I do when I turn this camera off. I could be slaughtering people. I could be a bully. I could be a thief. You wouldn't know because I don't put it on the internet. But in my head, you want everything I have. That's a problem. So it goes both ways. And on top of it, I could keep reinforcing that because it brings me money.
Absolutely.
Right?
This is it.
It brings me money.
This is it. Oh, Courtney, you touched on so many points there that are just so pertinent and topical. And guys, I can confirm she's not a thief. She's not a bully. She tries really, really hard.
I do try.
That's why there's two of us, just in case, have to verify that the other is of sound mind. But I think you brought up so many brilliant and excellent points that just grinds my gears when we think about influencer culture, right?
Tell us about them.
Oh, goodness me. First of all, the point that you were making, influencers are not your friends. They're not. They're not your cousins. They're not your, like, in terms of you being invested and bought into their story, that's exactly what you are. You're bought into their stories because their stories bring them money. And that inherently is not a bad thing, as long as you are aware of these things. And
even to interject, you can have sources of inspiration.
Absolutely.
That is fine. Like, even coming to this as a reference point, like being a part of the sisterhood, it's great. But that doesn't mean negate in-person relationships.
Absolutely. In-person relationships will always trump online relationships by 1,000. And listen, it's great that we're all connected in this digital age. It's great that you can reach out to people, but understand that influencers they should not be your primary source of relationship, intimacy and all that kind of good stuff. You need to make sure that they're in person.
Yeah, or your standard.
Absolutely. And I think unregulated power in the form of influencing can be a double-edged sword, both on the part of the consumer and the influencer. On the part of the influencer, in the sense that live by the sword, die by the sword, right? One day your followers will love you. Everybody will love you. All of that stuff. One wrong slip, one thing that you say, and all of a sudden somebody is coming for you.
Cancel culture vultures.
Cancel culture vultures will come for your neck. And I think one thing that I tell myself, even being somebody that is now like online and about, is that not everybody will like you or agree with you.
Yeah.
Some people you will actively offend just by being you. Yeah. And I think there's a fine balance in navigating that, because some influencers take that to heart, but they take it a bit too far.
Yeah.
In that, because I will offend somebody, I'm now making it my mission to offend everybody.
Screaming. It's actually so
There's
true.
actually some that I just think, you actually should be
all
cancelled.
publicity
You
is
need
good
to,
publicity.
You must stop. Now, actually what you're doing is extremely problematic and you must be stopped. There's those that take it a bit too far. And on the part of the influencer, as much as people, like to run away and shirk from the fact that, social media, I'm just using my platform, there is a duty of care there, and there is a responsibility when you've constructed a narrative and you've constructed a story or version of yourself that resonates with thousands of people. You know that there is a duty of care there. Yeah. And the whole, I'm just being me and people care about me type.
And the reason why it's very iffy and I'm not here for it either is because when you were pitching to the brand, you were very aware of the influence that you hold. You put it in numbers, you quantified it, you put a price on it.
Hello, somebody.
But when somebody is coming to you and saying you're a bad influence, it's now, but I never asked to be an influence. Then get rid of your pitch deck. Get rid of your media pack. Do you have influence or not? What's the truth here? And I think that's why it's a double-edged sword, because it's like, listen, and I love what you said about people taking the controversy too far. But I think there's the other side of, unfortunately, with influencer culture, when loads of people love you and your success is based on people loving you, when they hate you, you feel, who am I? Or it hits you harder because, one, it's going to interfere with your paycheck.
You're really and truly.
Yeah. Number two, it's going to affect your self-esteem, because a huge part of what's propped you up, depending on where your mentor is and how you view your platform and your job, if it's your job, and is other people's opinions of you.
Crazy.
People telling you I like you or I don't like that's you crazy. Can make or break your day. And that's why talking about mental health in the influencer space is really important, because everything is a bit of a simulation, because people are the same way we're saying influencers are not your friends. Influencers have to look at their notifications and realize, well, these people are saying, I love you. I love this and well done and congrats and you're my big sis and you're my inspiration. They aren't your friends.
No, they're not. And another thing that I would want to bring to everybody's attention when we're discussing influencers and their roles in our lives is not all influencers are revolutionaries.
Oh,
they're not
go
activists.
there.
They're not activists.
Go there.
Because I think this whole... I'm in two minds about it, right? There are some influencers, if you have positioned yourself in such a way to be the voice of the people, then by all means, you will die by that sword. If when push comes to shove and people are waiting for you to do a statement and your statement is trash, you will die by the sword. But I think this mentality of we expect all influencers to be actively educated on a range of all of these topics, every single topic, from climate change to racial issues to... It's not possible, because you yourself, that's not you. As consumers, I think the expectations for influencers to be proxy for our own opinions or to hold the weight and carry the burden of being the most knowledgeable on every single social problem is a complete farce. Oh, it's just not possible.
And that's the problem with putting people on pedestals and using them as, like you said, representations of the people. That's not what they ask to be often. I'm just a person with a camera. I like to make videos on what I like to make videos on. Absolutely. I didn't ask to be the exemplary student. Nope. I didn't ask to be the epitome of entrepreneurship or anything like that. I'm just sharing my story. I'm just sharing my experience and my life journey. I am not an idol. Absolutely. I am not a statue. I'm not a monument. Don't do that. Be careful.
Absolutely. And I guess the last thing I want to touch on before we move into the rather interesting segment of our conversation today is I wanted to touch on the fact that I feel like influencer culture can also be a breeding ground, especially today, for narcissism and grandiosity.
Yeah.
In the sense that a lot of people think that by virtue of being an influencer, they are entitled to certain privileges. Yeah. They are entitled to being about them, superior to everybody else. They are extremely self-centered to the point where when they even post about things that are about other people or about other communities, it comes across as virtue signaling. It comes across as very fake humility-ish. Like it doesn't feel very truthful. And then grandiosity in the sense that, again, that superiority complex, that God complex of I am better than you. Yeah. I feel like influencer culture sometimes can breed this whole idea or like make people think that they are better. Yeah. Even whether it's true or not, because they look better, they are better. Yeah. And the what is the word? English is escaping me.
Nah, go. Take your time.
The obsession with imagery as validation.
This is what I was gonna say.
Talk to me about it.
This is another thing where it's our fault and influencers' faults, right? And I'm saying we're both influencers, but let's talk about being like watchers, right? Yeah. And consumers of content. We kind of help fuel what's the standard of success, right? Yeah. So, for example, when somebody buys a house or they get a nice car and we're like, woo, she's done it. She's made it. Oh my gosh. Wow. Or she gets married and it's like, oh, I'm so happy for her. It kind of gets into the influencer's head, I think. It's a stamp of affirmation, which can be good, but then it can easily blow up your mind. Yeah. It can just make you so big-headed because you're thinking, look at all these people praising me. Look at all this love that I'm getting, right? But we're the ones who shower the love on them. And we make those things the standards of success. Yeah. Influencers are setting the pace of what's successful. If these people are, because it presents sometimes, and let's talk about it from like more of a commercial point of view. It presents itself as this is the height of sometimes luxury, or this is the height of success. This is the it thing to do. This is the it place to eat. This is the it car to have. This is the it house to buy. Do you get what I mean? This is the it interior to have. Yeah. And it starts making people despise what they have. And then in turn, it starts making the influencer think, I'm the standard. Yep. Absolutely. That's nice.
I set pace.
I'm the captain now. You know?
Have you seen that meme?
I'm the captain now. And I think that's sometimes, that is very dangerous, like you said, because it is hugely about imagery and it's about what do you present. And I heard Grace Beverly talking about this thing. I think she's writing about it in her book, but it's announcement culture. Yeah. Influencers announce something and they post and they're always on the next thing. They're always on the next thing. So everyone feels like they're keeping up. They're following behind. They're the leaders of the culture, so we're following behind. When you're the leader, you have the control. I sway where we're going. That is the easiest way to get prideful. Yeah. And I think that it can lead to pride, but it doesn't help them when the people behind you are hailing you like, yes, you're the perfect person. Absolutely. Yes, you're doing so well. And and how can if you're positioning yourself as the influencer, who's gonna come and tell you you need to change? Because you're the one setting pace. Absolutely. So do you have people in your real life who are telling you, refine your character here, humble yourself here a little bit, and not in a hating. And the thing is, it will get painted as you're hating me because people love me. People don't see what's wrong with my
supporters say that I'm great.
Do you get what I mean? And it's like,
those are your fans, not your friends.
Those are your fans. They're not your friends. Of course they're going to say you're great. What a shaky breath.
Oh, it's a shaky breath because we're about to take a little detour on TMS right now. We're going to introduce some case studies. Okay. We know the sisters have been shouting for this, and we've been trying to reserve comment on a couple of case studies that we've seen in the media and in the press. Courtney, stop. We've been trying to reserve commentary because, I, for one, just discussing other people's lives sometimes I think can be a bit, gossipy and it's just not cute. It's not fun. Yeah. However, we've had an unprecedented amount of messages to deal with a couple case studies. So we've picked... We
are in unprecedented times.
We were going to pick our top 3 requests in light of influencer and celebrity culture to have a conversation around, what it means, what they represent, and kind of like what are the messages that we can learn from a lot of these situations. So the first, you're gonna have to guess who this is, Courtney.
Okay.
And when I wear my helmet of salvation,
no, why you gotta bring up the wife? Why you gotta bring up Danae?
Do you know why I have to bring up that Danae? You know why I have to bring up the wife? Because that's what everyone is bringing up, really.
And you know what?
Isn't that interesting?
Grinds my actual gears, yeah? Because did she step out on her marriage?
Oh, and
and she's being, and oftentimes that's what happens, right? Women have to suffer the consequences of some men's bad behavior.
Absolutely.
Over and over and over again. She's the one who's being put on trial here. Her husband's there monetizing all of that content, selling out his books, yeah. Sorry, my tone sounds very harsh. Yeah,
okay,
let me give grace. Let me give grace. But the Derrick Jaxn situation,
absolutely.
Let's talk about that. I haven't said Pim. But I said I did a 15-second thing on my Instagram. I didn't say anything, but words need to be said. I have things to say. I just wanted us to be here. So let's talk. I've even had to put the iPad on charge so because
we need a little bit of time.
Okay, go on.
The whole Derrick Jaxn situation.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are not familiar with the Derrick Jaxn story, so from our understanding, Derrick Jaxn is a relationship coach / expert. He's positioned himself as such on social media and Instagram.
Yeah, for years,
where he's commented and given advice to couples, particularly men as well, young women as well, as to what to look for in men. And he's been married to his wife for a number of years now, and recently has come out with her to admit to,
multiple counts,
fornication,
adultery,
fornication,
multiple accounts of unfaithfulness.
He's been unfaithful throughout the marriage, and Danae, his wife's choice to stick by him and stand by him. And I think, for me, the initial video was quite, shocking, as it were. And I decided to just click off of it. But it was when I then saw the next video, which was him commenting as himself.
Okay, so no. Let's just talk about the first video, yeah? And then we'll go on to that. Because that is the problem with... That's
the epitome of everything wrong with influencer culture. But let's dig into the actual video where he announces that he has been unfaithful. I think everything that you were saying, both in this episode, Courtney, but also in the episode where we talked about, the power of manifestation, this whole idea of when you pose yourself as an expert, when things fail, particularly at your own hand, you are the blockage. You are the problem.
You've got no one to blame but
There's nobody to blame. When you set yourself up as an expert, people have expectations of you.
Yes.
Your brand is riding on how well you can keep up to these monumental expectations that you've set up for yourself. And when you have a, moment of weakness, and the thing is, this wasn't even a moment of weakness. This was continual moments of weakness throughout the whole time that you're positioning yourself as an expert, and is now only exposed now.
Okay, I don't want to be judgmental, right? So I'm just gonna say, from what I'm seeing, and I hope he's changing and he's getting help and he has the support system around him 100%. And I'm not saying this because I really want to preface that I'm saying this with as much grace, because I don't know where I'll be in the future. God forbid my life would be, dragged like this in public spectacle, but you never know what could happen to you, right? And I'd want grace to be extended to me.
Absolutely.
This doesn't even look like multiple falls, because that's kind of the language people use. Oh, I made a mistake. There was this one mishap. This actually looks like this is your character. It's not just trip ups. You're like this. And the reason why I have an issue with that is this is the perfect example of character going unchecked and people being able to have the wisdom and talk the talk as the fruit.
Yeah.
It's not the fruit. Me being able to tell you what a good marriage should look like doesn't mean I have a successful marriage.
Absolutely.
And I think we need to stop thinking because you say you have. No, because you have, you can say. Do you get what I mean?
That's good. Yeah.
And I think a lot of us, because building a personal brand, the money that's involved, being able to sell the book, being able to sell the merch, we know how to say, we know how to present, we know how to create content, we know how to create we know how to create the stuff,
the stories,
but to walk it out. The judgment that we rain down sometimes on other people. Well, he should have treated you like this. He should have treated you like that. It's not as easy when you're actually walking it and you're actually living it, right? And you see it sometimes in like, I would even say like rappers, yeah? I would never take this from a man disrespecting me. How much money I have. My issue is so good. I give sex so good. I do X, Y, Z so good. And yet you're the 7th baby mum. Yay. And your husband is, or your partner is cheating on you with several people, but you're still there. What happened to being a bad bee? What happened to being Miss Independent? What happened to being nobody can walk all over me? You know, you see it with rappers. I've got all this money. No one can chat to me about nothing. You man are broke. You're in bankruptcy.
Stop it. Stop it.
You're in bankruptcy. All of your stuff is rented. All of your posse is leeching from you. Everyone is taking money from you. You don't know how to handle it.
Lord. Oh, Lord.
Everyone can talk the talk. Anyone can talk the talk.
Absolutely.
Question is, where's the fruit?
Absolutely.
Where's the evidence of what it is you are saying? What is the evidence? And people can say, well, he never said he had a successful marriage. So why are you taking advice from him? It's not even, no, because it's not even just he's single. This is not someone who's learned from failure. This is someone who's currently in failure.
Stop it.
Yeah. And they're not just telling you about where they're going wrong. Because it's different if you maybe have a channel where I share my journey and my ups and my downs and da. No, you're giving commentary on other people's lives.
This is it. Oh, Courtney, I don't even know if we have time to dig into our
We have time.
Screaming.
We have to. Today we'll give you, even if we have to give you 2 episodes, we'll give you time because it's a perfect example of what's. Sis, it's a pandemic.
It absolutely is a pandemic. Like there's so many things that we can break down from that incident alone, right? There's the whole, narcissistic side of it in the sense that how you're still even actively monetizing off something that has caused a lot of grievance in your life, in your personal life. And then there's the whole side of influencer culture that a lot of people need to actually discuss and talk about, which is the ramifications of putting your life story online. Yes. And now people feel entitled enough and invested enough that they now can comment on your life. Yeah. They are now holding you accountable. Yeah. Tasha from Texas is telling you that the way you treat your wife is terrible. And as much as she may be right, the fact that she now has the power to do that, let's also discuss that.
You gave her that power though.
It's tight.
These are the pros and the cons of the internet.
It's tight.
If you want people to love you, give people the room to hate you.
It's tight.
But you've got to take it.
Now you've got random people telling you about yourself that you don't know from anywhere because you've decided to air your stuff online.
And the reason why that's important to highlight is you set up a standard which you should live by, right? In the sense that, okay, well, why is there no room for me to make a mistake? Because you positioned yourself as an example. That's why there's consequences, right? Absolutely. So this is, for example, like, let me just be honest and like transparent. When I posted my video on my channel about my pornography addiction, one of the biggest things that made it difficult to post it was I now need to live by a standard. Yep. Because if in a couple months or years it comes out that I still have a pornography addiction, absolutely, and I'm here telling people this is what I did to become free from it, and people are now messaging me and like that video really helped me. It's not to say I'm a perfect person. It's not to say that they've now made me this idol and this God, but it now makes me responsible for something. It's what we were just saying, right? Absolutely. Influencing comes with responsibility. Absolutely. You have to be willing to take it. So then when people then lift up their hands and they're like, no, I'm a human being too. I'm a this too. But you positioned yourself as an example. You positioned yourself as an expert. You positioned yourself as somebody who has this all together. You were talking the most. You were correcting other people. You're presenting as a hypocrite.
Absolutely.
You're a hypocrite. And even if you're able to then sit down and say, you know what, I was very hypocritical. All those videos I did where I was telling people that they were out of order for doing this, and I did the same thing.
465 of them.
And now you've convinced millions of people to go, because I saw all these comments that were like, oh, I broke up with my boyfriend because Derrick Jaxn said he would never treat a woman like this. Or when I saw someone say, I remember I showed one of my boyfriends at the time, his videos, and I said, this is the sort of man that I want. A man who has been cheating on his wife several times and you don't know.
Even before they got married. And even that, like, there's just so much we can do with this. The fact that you've now come to humiliate another party. And that's another thing that we can talk about in influencer culture. It's the fact that there are unwilling and willing participants that will come to your circus online and also get clowned.
And that's why you have to protect people.
Clowned.
You have to protect people.
And it's even more precarious because somebody like his wife, what she represents, I think is very, very important for a lot of women, particularly it's just so much. This whole idea of the long-suffering woman in the marriage. Long-suffering.
Yeah.
Having to take X, Y, and Z. Stand by. Like, how many times have we seen tropes of, you know, both within our own, like, personal lives, but also online and just, like, in our environments of women who are long-suffering, willing to stand by men who are...
See, this is the thing. I have an interesting relationship with that because I think to myself... This is still, and this is why you need to individualize these influencers. This is still a marriage. This is a person. She probably, in fact, she doesn't want her marriage to end. So whilst the culture and whilst the TL, stop it. No, and the reason why that might be her coping mechanism.
I hear it though.
Do you get what I mean? That can be the only thing she can use. Just think about what this woman has been going through. For the last over a decade, the person you love and trust and you love them enough to become their wife and have a child with them has been stepping out on you repeatedly, and public disgrace. Yeah? She must be she must have had a massive blow to her self-esteem. Went on her Instagram page recently, and sis has been through a lot. She's been raped. She's been abused. She's gone through a lot of stuff. Yeah. She lost her father and she felt like it was her fault. This is a person with a life story and a history. If her coping mechanism has been prayer, whether you think it's good or not, this is not her sin, but it's become her battle. Do you get what I mean? So she's chosen a way that she's going to fight it. My issue will purely be directed to him because he shouldn't have brought her into the firing line at all. She doesn't have a YouTube channel.
Nope.
I didn't even know he was married.
Me too.
Until this scandal happened. And instead of to keep her away from this, you've come and put her face on the internet.
Directly.
And you've put her in the line of fire and people are clowning. That's on you. That's on you. You should have protected her. Not only have you failed in protecting your marriage bed, you failed in protecting her, her sanity, her safety.
You've literally become the opposite of everything you have spouted that you are. And I think, it's a very, very pertinent lesson that all influencers or aspiring influencers or just individuals live up to the standard that you set yourself. Make it a priority to live up to the standard that you set for yourself. Not just because of other people, not just because of the people that you care about, but for your own personal integrity.
This is what I wonder, yeah? Was he not
Courtney, you will not kill me today.
No, Renee. Yeah.
I'm listening.
Was he not feeling peppered in his chest every time he went to his mistress's homes and did those things and then recorded a video? Does it not? And this is what we mean. Don't wait for people to drag you before you G-check yourself. That personal development is important. And that's why narcissism is happening. Because you think, If the people don't know, it's not harmful. Because as long as it doesn't damage my personal brand, it's okay. Yeah. As long as people don't know, it's all right. As long as my reputation is still intact, I'll do whatever I want. I'll just conceal it well. The issue is, the importance is not on how many followers you have and what they think of you. It's what you think of yourself. Absolutely. It's what you believe about yourself. It's what you are allowing yourself to do. It's about your personal character. If you don't even set a standard for your character, before you set a standard for your persona, before you set a standard for your brand, you don't have anyone around you who can tell you, I don't care how many followers you have. I don't care how many people have bought your books. Bruh. I don't care how many people think you spit wisdom. Bruh. You're out of order. You don't have anyone to tell you that.
This is why whatever you do, accountability should not come from strangers on the internet.
But you know why it's hard for influencers to have accountability? You construct all of this.
This is true.
Because even celebrities, your manager will tell you, don't say that. Don't you dare say that on camera.
I don't think so.
Don't go there.
I don't think so.
You won't be seen here.
I don't think so.
But we live in a generation in a generation of content creators and stuff who, no, I'm my director. I'm my writer.
I feel like it's either everyone G-checks you or no one G-checks you. There's no healthy balance, right? Because it's like, it's either you go too far and now the whole world has turned on you, or nobody is around to G-check you ever.
But the thing is, even when the whole world G-checks you, you're not really G-checked, are you?
No, you're not.
Because you don't have,
you have to go on your notes app though and write your apology.
You write your apology. Maybe you stop making content forever. Or maybe in a couple months you can come back.
Absolutely.
Do you get what I mean? And stuff like that. And I think there are people that, for example, cancel culture, it happens to who don't deserve it, right? Because they've done the personal internal work. And now they've come back. Like I was watching the video Nella Rose posted recently where she was saying her content is not the same because she's constantly thinking about, will people be offended, especially after her Twitter backlash that happened? And I absolutely love Nella Rose. I've loved her for years, right? Absolutely. Do you get what I mean? And so I think to myself, this is someone who has gone and done the internal work. They're not the same person anymore. But they're now scared because the internet, people G-check you without grace and forgiveness and without an actual desire to see you change. They don't have a desire to see you change.
Courtney, don't even get me started on this.
Because they're not actually invested in you. No. They're upset that the image is shattered. In their head, they feel deceived.
Absolutely.
So now it's like, I don't trust you.
I need to see you burn.
Whereas for me, I need to see you burn because you've done me wrong. Yeah. Whereas for me, I'm your sister, right? I don't care about how many followers you have. Absolutely. Whilst I care that you're successful, you're achieving your destiny. I care about that. I want to see you do well personally. So seeing you fail doesn't bring me delight.
No.
Seeing you succeed brings me delight. Being with you during those painful moments and walking with you during your process of changing as a person is my duty to you as your sister. It's not my duty to you as a fan. As a fan, I'm there to receive. As your friend, I'm here to walk with you.
This is it, Courtney. This is it. And I think it really does bring us back to why we started TMS, why this is called a sisterhood, why this isn't just a community, right? This is a sisterhood because we want to encourage people to walk with each other. Yes. We don't want people to be fans. We don't want people to just support. Yeah. We want you to do the work. Both the beautiful work, but the ugly work too.
Ugly work.
Because it's not cute.
The work that requires you to put your phone down. Don't take no more engagements. Don't post another video. Until you get yourself in therapy. Until you get yourself submitted to somebody.
There are times that, either I will post something or want to post something, or Courtney will want to post something, and we'll come to each other and say, listen, sis, what's good with this?
Don't do that.
It's like, is this a problem? Do I have work to do?
Legit.
Everybody needs at least one person in there. Not even one. We need more folk just in general within our inner circle that are not afraid to G-check us when it's absolutely necessary to. Because public disgrace hurts. Public disgrace really hurts. So
it's life-threatening.
Have people to G-check you. And I think if there's one thing that I really want to just like encourage aspiring influencers, but just normal folk in general, is just to have accountability partners. We're really in a generation, this is so off topic, but we're really in a generation of people where everyone feels too big to be checked.
And this is the problem with influencer culture, right? Because it's like, I have more followers than you. How can you G-check me?
Because what you said was actually genuinely
trash.
Absolutely trash. And then listen, if I don't G-check you, some random person on the internet who does not have your best interests at heart, who wants to see everything you have built for years burn,
will tell you down.
They're the ones that are going to tell you down.
This is it.
Are you it's better for it to come from a friend who is actually invested in building you back up than somebody that is actually an internet troll but could level everything you've built in moments.
And even if they don't have that much power, it will the things it will do to your mental health and your self-esteem and your identity, it's not worth it.
Absolutely.
It's not worth it. You'll be scared. And instead, it's about literally people correcting you out of love, right? That happens with proximity. It happens with closeness. Intimacy. It happens in having intimacy with each other, not just sex. Intimacy, knowing somebody, knowing their shortcomings, that their strengths, all of it, and being invested in not just their success, in the vanity of it. Because this is the issues that influencers have. Because it's easy to have yes men around you because they're interested in the vanity of your success.
Yep.
We love that you hit 100K, sis.
Bruh.
We love that you hit 1 million, sis. But who's there more invested in the prosperity of your soul?
Ooh.
That's what we need to start asking ourselves, right? Because, for example, we recently hit 100K plays. Loads of people will be doing, congratulations, well done. This is so fruitful. But what if we were living a life completely contradictory to what it is we say on the podcast? Completely contradictory to the way that we inspire the sisters to live. Who's going to G-check you when you're quote unquote successful? Yeah. Especially if, one, they benefit from your success, or two, they're not invested in the prosperity of your soul. They're not invested in, for example, like with the Derrick Jaxn situation, like even when he mentioned faith, I remember just thinking to myself, is no one here to tell you that the consequence of what you're doing is eternal? That the consequence of what you're doing, not to say that there's no forgiveness and there's no grace and there's no coming back for him, but it's no one there to tell you that what you're doing is far bigger than just making a mistake. It's going to have ramifications potentially for generations. Is no one there to tell you that the goalpost isn't virality?
Absolutely.
It's a successful marriage.
That these momentary gains, these momentary monetization tactics, in a year they'll be gone. And you know what? One of like my favorite quotes is a Latin quote that goes memento mori, which means remember that you will die. Ooh. And it's not necessarily because, we're Christians or anything and we believe in, life after death, but more so these things that we chase after, these viral moments will be gone in a flash. Next year, you won't be relevant.
Yesterday's news.
And when people think of yesterday's news, is this what you want to be associated with? Is this how you want to go down in history? A meme?
Yeah.
For this embarrassment? For this circus?
Yeah.
It's fleeting moments, fleeting moments of circusry.
That's the perfect way to put it. That is of circusry.
Circusry.
It's saddening. No, and I actually say that because it made me sad.
It did.
It made me sad because I get why people are following you because they want better relationships.
Absolutely.
Right? Mm-hmm. And this kind of tells us, like, be careful the weight that you put on the words of people whose fruit you can't see. That's what I said on my Instagram. I can listen to your wisdom, and not you specifically. I can listen to somebody's wisdom and take it as, that's great. But I also want to weigh it up against the people who I know their results. Yes. I know the evidence of what it is they're talking about. Yes. I want to talk to the people who are having successful marriages or are transparent about the fact that their marriage is struggling. I don't just want to hear from people who have all the theory and I don't know if they're living out what they preach. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. And I guess that leads us to talking about like other case studies about Quavo and Saweetie. Why did I say his name? I'm such an auntie. Quavo. I don't. Quavo and Saweetie.
Yes.
Because I think that whole thing of like relationship goals that has come from influencer culture and like I want to be like these people.
Me and somebody's son.
And I can't wait. I can't wait for him to treat me like how this person treats somebody.
Instagrams.
Where are your couple goals now?
I'm screaming.
Where are they?
They're fighting.
Go and gather them.
They're exchanging blows.
Is there? Apparently, they had a fight. I didn't see. Anyway, this isn't a gossip channel. So
the elevator seems to be the medium of choice for a
lot of scraps.
And listen, this is not to say that couples don't fight and couples don't break up and stuff like that.
But be transparent. Why do you have to be exposed?
I feel like it's not like with folk like Quavo and Saweetie, it wasn't just them that was constructing this narrative. I think that the consumers, us as consumers,
this is why we need to also take responsibility, because some people don't ask for the pedestals we put them on. No. We force them there, and then we're crying when our idols shatter. The first ones
that we will be doing think pieces about their love, and then when they break up, think pieces. This one was an abuser. This one was this. This one was that.
And then we start doing, like I saw it with De'Ara and Ken. I love them, but I saw it when allegations came about him being unfaithful or cheating or flirting with other women. People are like, if this man can cheat, men are dangerous. Why did he become your standard?
Hey.
Why did this person become your standard? God. Even when, like, you see it when, like, pastors fall. It's like, well, if they can do that, why did they become your standard? Number two, the standard you set for them, are you living up to it? Or are you just watching because it's entertaining, because it gives you hopefulness, but you don't apply it to your own life, right? Be careful, because then we start treating people based on these celebrity events that happen. You know, if Ken can cheat, if Quavo can do this, if so-and-so can do blah, 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 if Derrick Jaxn can do, men cannot be trusted.
Can you imagine?
Why don't you go and ask the people in your community who have been married for 45 years about marriage tips? Yeah. Why don't you go and ask the people in your life who actually have healthy homes, are raising healthy children, who have done the internal work for tips? Why are you going to people whose daily life you can't see, their failures and successes, you can't see them until they're exposed? They're not transparent, they're exposed. Yeah, that's different. To be exposed is someone coming and tearing your garments for filth. Yeah. But to be transparent is to live a life that says, before you catch me, I'll show you.
I'm screaming.
This is a core tenet, yeah, of why for me, when I said I'm going to be on the internet, it has to be transparency, because you won't catch me before I show you. No. This is it. No. Because if I put out my dirty laundry and I point to it first, you can't do, look at that. Not me.
This is it. Because I'll be damned. I say this to Courtney all the time. I'll be damned before I come out here with my notes app ready to apologize for my dirty laundry.
And that's the thing.
I will air it out first.
It will be better to be honest. And that's why we always tell you, we are not perfect people. Not at all.
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
Let me tell you now, I'm not perfect.
And there's beauty in transparency. There is real
especially
beauty
in community.
Oh goodness.
Because people can think, but they weren't transparent on the internet. Do you get what I mean? Some things are not all for the internet. Something, especially because people can be horrible. Like you're going through a bad situation. Maybe you're feeling suicidal. Is it the internet you're gonna come? Today I'm feeling suicidal. For people to leave comments like do XYZ to yourself and it pisses you off. It's not everything that needs to be on the internet, but transparency in community is life-changing.
And just being able to tap into people offline is important.
Please.
It's important. And I guess the final thing that I'll say in regards to just like influencer culture and just being online is what you see online, A, isn't real, B, isn't relevant when you turn it off. I promise you, stay off. Like a challenge that I've done for myself in like the last few months and years and stuff is I have dedicated time off of social media.
Yeah.
And some of my friends who are like also influencers, every now and again will be off, you know, social media
like
and
I'm
come
not
back.
on Twitter.
I'm not around.
Yeah.
Did your life change?
Not a single bit. In fact, I gained more clarity.
Did you? People forget that life exists and goes on outside of the internet, outside of the worlds we've created, outside of the worlds we've constructed.
Go there.
If you live in this constructed narrative for too long, you will start to believe that everything is real. And that's why there are mad people on there.
100%.
Because you think what you're consuming is real.
Yeah.
You're thinking what you're creating is real. Not realizing that the moment that you turn off your laptop, you come face to face with the real you.
The real you.
The real you that people don't see.
Yeah.
The real you that isn't as pretty on YouTube or Instagram. The real you that isn't as preppy and happy as you are on your podcast or whatever.
Yeah.
You come face to face with the real you.
Yeah.
You will turn off your laptop and you will be faced with the real you. But the thing is, the less times that you do that, the more you're setting yourself up to fail.
Yeah.
Because you just can't live there forever. You can't live in Wonderland forever. You've got to go home. You've actually got to go home.
And I think that even speaks to, it's going to be careful how invested you are in other people, especially if you don't put that much investment in yourself. Like, mind the business that pays you.
Absolutely. That's my favorite. That's my favorite quote. My favorite one.
Mind the business that pays you. Yeah? It's nice to be entertained. I get it. But if your emotions can be wrecked, if your life can literally be shaken by someone on the internet making a mistake or making several mistakes, what about your real life? Don't be so invested. It's like when, a character dies on a show. Like I remember when Wes Gibbons died in How to Get Away with Murder. Yeah. I was wrecked. Yeah. And the reason why I was wrecked was because I'm invested in this character.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what happens with influencing.
Absolutely.
You're invested in a character. What dies is a persona, right? But then how invested are you in your own real life, where it's not a persona, it's actually your daily reality? How invested are you in your personal growth? You know everything about somebody else's investment portfolio. What about yours? What are you doing every day? And you're here inspecting other people. Oh, they say they do this, but then why not this, that? Focus on your own grass.
This is it.
Water where you are, And I think, unfortunately, our generation suffer the most from this because the visibility is too much.
It's too much.
The access is too much. Now I don't even need to,
the sense of over-familiarity.
I don't, before, your neighbor would have to be peeking over your garden fence, No.
Scroll on their Instagram.
Go on your stories. And I can be all up in your business. What about your business? And the thing is, it's just this, the time, there's no extra time in the day. Your time is just being displaced and you're investing it in other people who are using their time to monetize, who are spending their time building their legacy. What do you have at the end of it? I think I've mentioned this in another episode. Like, I would spend hours and hours on YouTube and I had to G-check myself. All these hours that I've spent watching these people, as much as I love them, what if I spent it actually applying what I learned from them in my real life?
Absolutely.
How far would I actually be? And I think the issue is a lot of us are observers and we sit there as the audience of other people's lives and we forget that our own stories are running us by. We're audiences for people's displays and they're basically like life. What do they say? Life's a stage, right? You're watching somebody else and you're forgetting that your story is passing you by.
You're not even a supporting character. You're an audience member. Not even a supporting.
You're not involved.
You're actually not involved. And this is not to say that we hate influencers or we are them. As much as we are influencers, if you will. And we have a lot of friends that are influencers that we love and cherish, and we love their work. Like, influencers are doing some really, really important and amazing things, and we love and cherish everything that you do. But we do need to make sure that we have open, honest, and transparent conversations, as classic of TMS, around what influencers, what their duty of care is, where are we overstepping the boundaries, how can we improve, where can we get accountability from, and particularly with you guys who we genuinely do see as our sisters, what are the boundaries that we need to implement with each other in order to make this relationship work? Right? Like, how can we make this thing work in such a way that, you know, you guys are supporting us, you're supporting influencers, but you're supporting yourselves. You are the main characters in your play, in your life. We are very much about, you know, facilitating agency, helping you guys to understand that you are the director of your own show.
And you've got you're accountable for your life.
You're accountable for yours. You are, and we want to build up individuals who have integrity, who are cognizant of building character, good character, and who are preoccupied with producing real fruit.
Yeah.
As opposed to preying other people's and pinching other people's.
Yep. And being obsessed with other people. And also take heed that you're not just producing loads of things that look good and deep down you're a mess, right? Because you're one bad Instagram live away from your whole life. Stop it. But that's what we're seeing with these online situations. It just takes one person to make a little snap of, hey, I'm with your man, or some DMs. They'll coming to you as a woman.
I told you, circus, man.
For your whole reality to be snapped in half. I think the issue is, like you put it so perfectly, these things happen in community, and TMS is to inspire you. Yes, you're a part of this digital community and we love it, and you can listen to us and you can listen to other women's stories and all of those amazing things. But in-person community is what changes lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need an in-person sisterhood. You need in-person accountability. Find it and flourish in it.
Find it and flourish
and respect it as well. Like, you never get too big to be accountable.
Oh, never. That's one thing. Like, me and Courtney discuss this all the time. No matter how big we ever became or whatnot, I will still G-check her.
Don't care how much money you made, sis.
Absolutely don't care. Not even a little bit. And on that note, folks, it's about that time. I know this was an Excel. Wow. What a meaty conversation, but it's a conversation that we cannot have without you guys. So please let us know, what do you think about the role of the influencer? Should influencers be celebrities? What is the duty of care with influencers? What is the relationship between influencer and consumer? Let us know in the comments below on YouTube. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple, or anywhere else, please don't forget to come over to our social media. You can @ us on Instagram @ToMySisterhood. And of course, come and say hello on our personal Instagrams @CD Boateng and @Renee Kapuku.
Yes, and you can also, get the whole world involved in this conversation. @us on Twitter @ToMySisterhood, and use the hashtag #ToMySisters so we can hear more about what it is you think. Let's get this conversation going. But yeah, I feel like we've really given a lot in this one. We will talk to you in our next conversation, which is sure to be an amazing one. And we will talk to you so soon. But remember, keep glowing and growing.